In the quiet stillness of a marble-floored mansion, a single scream shattered everything. It wasn't loud enough for the neighbors to hear, but for her, it cracked the world wide open. She wasn't supposed to be there. Just a maid, paid in cash, moving quietly through a world that didn't see her. But when the smoke rose and the flames came alive, one woman did what no alarm, no parent, no camera could do. She listened, she ran, and she jumped. What she didn't know was that this fire wasn't an accident. And what the child whispered in the aftermath would haunt the nation. This isn't just a story about rescue. It's about betrayal, bravery, and the quiet power of someone who refused to walk away. Her name is Maya. And today you'll remember it. Asterisk. The sound came like a splinter through silk, a child's scream too faint for the neighbors, but sharp enough to slice through marble and memory. Maya froze. The mop slipped from her gloved hands and slapped the kitchen floor, sending soapy water skimming across the tiles like panic in motion. She turned. From the edge of the hallway, black smoke was curling lazily along the ceiling, like a warning written in shadow. Not a fire yet. But close. Too close. Her breath caught. Ethan? Her voice cracked the silence. No answer. She didn't wait. The apron came off in one tug. The cleaning rag was gone mid-stride. She ran, barefoot across polished floors that had never once welcomed her. The portraits on the walls watched silently, all silk ties and antique frames, as the smoke began to thicken and the air turned hot enough to sting. She reached the staircase just as the scent of burning fabric hit her, bitter, unmistakable, alive. The fire had started in the study. The expensive drapes were no longer fabric but flame, licking greedily toward the high ceiling. And still, no alarm. No flashing lights. No sound but the soft, rising roar of something deeply wrong. Then she heard it. A cough. Small. Fragile. A child trying to breathe through terror. And in that moment she didn't see the mansion anymore. She didn't feel the heat or remember the paychecks. She saw one thing, a boy in danger. And Maya ran straight into the smoke. He was there. At the top of the grand staircase, framed by smoke and shadows, stood a little boy no taller than the railing. Golden curls now dimmed with soot, a smear of ash across his cheek and eyes too wide, too still. In his arms, a weathered teddy bear clutched to his chest like a life vest. Ethan. He didn't cry. He didn't move. He simply stared, paralyzed, as if even fear had left him. Behind Maya, the fire crackled louder, hungrier. The stair rail groaned. Flames licked up the side, curling like fingers reaching for him. And still, no alarm. Only the sound of her heartbeat, loud as war drums in her ears. She didn't think. She didn't calculate. She simply ran. Up the stairs. Into the smoke. Each wooden step seared her feet, but pain was a luxury she didn't allow herself. Her breath grew shallow. Eyes stung. But her arms reached through it all, and in one motion she swept the boy into her arms. He gasped softly, like a bird finding air after nearly drowning. "I've got you," she whispered, coughing, shielding his tiny face in the crook of her neck. "I've got you, baby." His small hands gripped her collar as if she were the last solid thing in the world. And then behind them, the hallway lit up. The fire had moved fast, too fast. Doors exploded inward with heat. The back stairwell was already gone, a wall of flame where there had once been escape. The mansion that had once towered over her like a fortress was now a cage made of fire. But Maya didn't panic. She turned, tightened her hold on Ethan, and searched for something no one had ever trained her to find, a way out when there was none. Smoke swallowed the hallway behind them. The fire chased their breath. Maya's vision blurred, but her resolve didn't. She staggered down the corridor, holding Ethan tight, her ankle already throbbing, lungs begging for air. And then, a window. Tall. Narrow. Second floor. No time to weigh the risk. No time to wonder if they would land in safety, or shatter on impact. She kicked once. Twice. On the third blow the glass cracked like ice. She spotted a brass lamp nearby, yanked it free and with one swing shattered the pane into a rain of glass. Wind rushed in, cool, clean, precious. Ethan whimpered, the teddy bear slipping from his hand. Maya caught it. "I told you," she rasped, her voice raw. "I've got you." She climbed onto the sill. The fire roared behind her like a living thing. And with no more options, she jumped. The fall felt like forever. But it wasn't. The impact came hard. Her knees buckled and pain tore through her ankle like a scream without sound. But she curled her body around Ethan, her arms wrapped tightly as they hit the grass with a thud. Silence. Then the sound of breathing, shallow but alive. Ethan stirred in her arms. The bear still pressed between them. Behind them, the mansion belched flames from shattered windows. A blast of heat rippled across the lawn as the front porch gave way with a crack. And finally, the smoke alarms howled, far too late to matter. Neighbors rushed out. Shouts rang through the air. Sirens grew louder in the distance. But Maya heard none of it. Because just then Ethan lifted his head from her chest. His voice barely a whisper, raspy from smoke, edged with something no child should carry. 2 words. They knew. And in that moment, Maya felt something colder than fire ripple down her spine. Not she. Not it. And suddenly this wasn't just a fire. It was a message. She should have been relieved. The child was alive. The flames were behind them. But as Maya sat on the grass, ankle throbbing, arms still wrapped around Ethan's trembling frame, her mind refused to settle. His words kept circling back. They knew I was inside. She scanned the mansion, now coughing thick black smoke into the sky like a signal flare. It burned fast, too fast. There had been no creaking, no gradual smolder. Just sudden heat. Sudden chaos. And something else. She blinked. The front door. In her panic, she hadn't noticed before, but now she remembered yanking on it. It hadn't budged. She thought it was stuck. But no, it had been locked. From the outside. Her breath caught. And then it clicked. The silence. The missing alarm. The flames that had started not in the kitchen or wiring, but in the study where no one had been. The heavy curtains. The single lit candle. Too quiet. Too precise. Too deliberate. Maya looked at the red convertible parked neatly in the driveway, untouched by ash, by heat, by urgency. The car she saw Mrs. Cartwright drive away in that morning, without a word. She'd assumed the mother had errands, an appointment, something. But now the silence felt surgical. And Ethan, a 5-year-old child, had said they knew. Not a guess. Not a fear. A fact. Her hands trembled as she clutched him tighter. Something darker than fire had touched this house. And someone somewhere had counted on no one noticing. But they hadn't counted on Maya. The fire department called it a miracle. The tabloids called Maya a hero. And Mr. Cartwright? He called her into his study with tears in his eyes and gratitude pouring from his mouth. But as she sat there, still smelling faintly of smoke, something in her remained rigid, alert. Then he said it. We're lucky my wife wasn't home. She was out getting Ethan's birthday gift. His voice cracked with sincerity. But Maya froze. That wasn't true. She'd seen Mrs. Cartwright leave early that morning. Alone. No gift in hand. No urgency in her step. Just her purse and keys and a half-smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Maya didn't respond. Not directly. Instead, she asked gently, does the security system still back up footage to the cloud? He looked surprised. Yes. Why? She shook her head, gave a small smile. No reason. Just curious. That night, long after the mansion had gone quiet, Maya opened her old laptop and logged into the backup system. It took time. Several passwords. 2 disconnected calls from IT. But then the footage loaded. Timestamp, 9:27 a.m. Mrs. Cartwright steps out the front door. She looks over her shoulder. Then, with a gloved hand, she locks the front door. From the outside. No panic. No second glance. She gets into the red convertible and drives away. Timestamp, 10:03 a.m. Smoke begins seeping from the second-floor study. Maya stared at the screen, every nerve in her body vibrating. She had risked her life to save Ethan. But someone else, his own mother, had risked nothing at all. And suddenly, she understood why Ethan had whispered. They knew I was inside. The next morning, she didn't ask for a reward. She simply walked into Mr. Cartwright's office, placed the USB drive on his desk and whispered, "Watch this when you're ready. And keep him close. Closer than ever." She turned to leave. Behind her she heard nothing, no gasp, no denial. Just the quiet sound of a man breaking. Days passed. The Cartwright mansion grew quiet, not in peace but in shame. Mr. Cartwright had watched the footage. Twice. And when he emerged he looked 10 years older. He never called the police. Not yet. But he did something else. He asked Maya if he could take Ethan to visit her apartment, the 1-bedroom space she shared with her cousin and her cousin's baby. It was humble. Cluttered. Warm. And Ethan? He ran to her as if it were home. That evening, as Maya sat on the worn-out sofa, holding a cup of tea she didn't remember brewing, Mr. Cartwright stood silently beside her. He looked down, no longer the polished millionaire but just a father. A broken one. Then his voice low, raw. She She told me you left him inside on purpose. That you hated us. That you wanted him gone. Maya blinked. Her heart stopped. I didn't believe it, he continued. Not really. But I didn't stop her either. I let her poison me. I let her blame you. Maya looked at him. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. She didn't need to ask why. She knew. It was easier for the wealthy to doubt the maid than to doubt their own. But then he whispered the two words, the ones that struck deeper than fire, deeper than fear. I knew. Just that. And Maya knew what he meant. He knew his wife had lied. He knew Maya was telling the truth, even before the footage. He knew something was wrong, and still he stayed silent. Because silence was more comfortable than confrontation. Because guilt is a coward's mirror. Maya stood. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She simply nodded, walked over to Ethan and kissed the top of his head. Don't ever let anyone lock the door on you again, she said softly. As she stepped out into the night air, the chill didn't bother her. She had walked through flames and survived. Now the truth had burned its way out too. Sometimes heroes don't wear capes. They wear burn marks on their hands and silence in their hearts. Maya never asked for recognition. She didn't want praise. She only wanted Ethan to be safe, and for the truth to be heard even if it arrived late, limping, breathless. But in a world that often judges by uniforms and status, it was the poor maid who stepped through fire. While those in silk robes stood frozen. The mansion she left behind would rebuild its walls. But the cracks? They'd remain. Not in stone, in memory. As for Maya, she walked forward, not bitter but brighter. Because when the flames came she didn't flinch. And when the truth whispered, she listened. So the next time you see someone overlooked, unheard, unseen, remember Maya. The maid who didn't just save a boy. She saved their humanity. This is such an amazing story. Dear friends, if you liked the video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. There is still a lot of interesting things to come.